Okay, so the stacks had some time to dry, and we could take the little clips off. We don't need those anymore, so let's put those to the side. So you can see the air horns right there. We got a good shot on what they're going to look like. So there's one in the middle, and there's none on the third funnel, but the one in the front has two. So that's how we're going to do it. We're going to have the one with two is going to go in the front, and this one, it kind of looks like a Dalek, is going to go in the middle. So the way we're going to work out the ship, we're going to need to be able to have to access it. Let's see, which way is this? I think this is forward. So the smokestacks are going to end up looking like so. But before we paint them, I need to prime it. So we're going to be using, let me show you what we're going to use. We're going to use the Vallejo primer, and this stuff is awesome. I love this stuff. It's German Panzer Gray, but it's actually more of a black. This stuff is wonderful. It comes out of the airbrush great. It goes on great. It dries wonderfully. And for the orange, we're going to be using the Vallejo, the game color. And this is the Naranja Fuego Orange Fire. This was the closest one that I could find to the smokestack. Plus, we're going to airbrush it, so we're going to be able to make it look in scale. So, again, we have everything glued together. The smokestacks are all set to go. We're not putting the plates on top only because we want the smoke to come out evenly on top. And when it comes to painting them, or in this case, priming them, what I like to do is I like to use painting sticks that I like to make. And I just roll up pieces of newspaper and tape it. And this is going to work well because we're going to put this right inside, just like that, onto the paper. I'm going to make sure it's secure. And when we go around and we paint, we're going to get everything. So we're going to start with the primer. So let's do this for all of them. Okay, now we're going to get the gun ready. So what I like to do is I like to run a little bit of the Vallejo Flow Improver through it. So I want to do all four sides plus the top. So the top is going to be black. And the way this dries, it's going to look wonderful. It's going to be black, and I don't think we're going to need to paint black over it. There we are. We don't need a lot of primer. So now we got to give this, I'm going to give this a couple days to cure. And when it cures, it's going to be nice and flat black. And it's going to look really nice. And when that's done, we can think about masking off the top section. And we're going to use the orange for the bottom. And then we're going to have to think about these ridges are actually black. All right, so the primer had a while to cure. It looks pretty good. I love the Vallejo. We used the Vallejo primer. And now it's ready to ultimately paint. So we're gonna paint the orange. Let me show you guys the match that I had gotten. So I was using this picture, and when this paint is dry, it's the closest than any other, than the testers. And this is the Naranja Fuego Orange Fire. So again, you can see the stacks are orange, but there is black. So you can see there's a black line that would go where the ring would be. So let's see, I'm going to use the masking tape. We don't need a ton of it. I like this one because it's not, the adhesive isn't as strong, so we don't have to worry about it damaging the primer. Here we are. I just wanted to make sure that it was even all the way around. Make sure it's even. Now we're going to do the same thing for the other two. There. Looks like a Dalek wearing a hat like a burger chef. All right. And lastly, there. All right. So now we're ready to paint. So I've got the airbrush cleaner, the airbrush flow improver, and the airbrush thinner. I know it's a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on thin layers at a time. Little by little. So we'll paint it little by little in layers. That way there, it's going to go on a little bit more evenly. And remember, we don't want it to be, well, I don't want it really bright because then it'll look like a toy. See how when we slowly build it up layer by layer, how much better it looks? Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Again, I don't want it bright orange because it'll look more toyish. And I don't want it to look bad, but the Poseidon, it wasn't bright. It wasn't shiny. Remember, she was on her last voyage. So she was headed for scrap. So I think we're going to leave it right now. Maybe another coat when it's dry. We'll see what it looks like. Yeah, I think we're going to let this dry now. Okay, so they had time to dry. And remember when I was telling you guys how I didn't want it bright, where it would look almost like a toy, where I wanted the primer to come through or just be able to notice in the background. So what we're going to do now is I'll do the horns or the whistles. You can see how they're kind of like brass. Let me see if I can get a good close-up shot of them. So looking at the whistles, you can see the bottoms, or the part that attaches to the smokestack, is orange. And it's like a brass. So I had done a build of the USS Nimoy to honor Leonard Nimoy. And I had gotten a metallic gold for the deflector dish. And I think what we're going to do is I'm going to use this for the whistles. Alright, so when it comes to the whistles, part of the housing for the whistle is still going to be orange. And you can see the part that makes the sound is going to be, it looks like brass. We're going to put it gold. So we don't need a lot, but it's going to stand out. It's going to be noticeable. So we're going to take a little bit of the gold. That looks good. Just like that. So let's do the same thing for the front or the main whistles. There we are. Again, we don't need a lot. It's just the area on the horns themselves. So we're going to wait for this to dry. In the meantime, the Queen Mary, or excuse me, the SS Poseidon, also has those black rings that are around the smokestacks. Just enough to know that there are rings. And Cunard did that with a lot of their ships. You think of the Lusitania that has the orange smokestack with the black ring around it. So what we're going to do is I think we're going to use a paint pen to highlight it. So I'm curious now. Let's take the mask off. Here we are. Looks like a little bit of the paint got under it, but we'll touch that up. So in the meantime, let's put the other two aside. Make sure that nothing happens to them. We gotta let them dry. And put this one over here. There. So now, what I'm going to do is we're going to go around and I'm going to highlight the ridged area. You don't have to put a lot. Just lightly enough so we can go around. Here we are. We got a couple of areas that we'll touch up because my eyesight isn't that great. So there's a dot over there and one on the other side. So that's the first smokestack. All right, let's do the second stack now. There we are. So why don't I'm going to attempt to put a dot right now. I hope the paint's dry enough. There. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that little dot in the middle to let you know it's a horn, just like you can see it on the actual ship. There. And let's see if I can. I don't want to push my luck, but that's good. The dot right in the middle. Okay, so let's put this one aside now. I'm going to let that one dry. There we are. And I'm going to do the same thing on the front one. We're going to put the little dot to signify that it's a horn. Yeah. Hopefully you can see that. All right, now let's take the mask off. Oh, nice. That one looks good. The line is nice and crisp. All right, so you can see how it looks on the actual ship, and you can see how our stacks are coming along. So I think what I'll do now is there's a couple of spots that I need to touch up. There we are, maybe a little bit here. I just lost a spot. Okay, I guess it's not that noticeable. All right, so now I'm gonna go like that. So let's take them off the paint sticks. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna put it, I think this is the front. This is gonna be the front of the ship. So let's take this off, the paint stick. And what I'm gonna do is we're gonna put it on here, and I'll take you off the tripod and I'm gonna show you how they're gonna look. So let me show you guys what we were striving to do. This is the actual ship.